Time flies. It's been 5 months already since I first started experimenting with Midjourney, and since then, the development pace has been ruthless. The Midjourney team just never stops. It seems that every couple of weeks, there's a new update that improves the results of the algorithm, which is exactly what we as users want to see. In one of my first Midjourney videos, I said, I'm sure if I redo these images in a couple of months, the results will probably be 10 times better. So I guess now's the time to put this statement to the test. And to do that, we're going to use the exact same prompts as before, and we'll compare the results. Are we going to get better looking images? Let's find out. Just a couple of days ago, the Midjourney developers released the 4th version of the AI's algorithms. It has a ton of improvements on pretty much every single area. So in order for us to take full advantage of the AI's latest and greatest additions, we're going to use the v4 command at the end of the prompt. But apart from that small addition, the prompts are going to be exactly the same. I think the best way to start is with the very first image I shared on that initial video. Here's the original 4 images. Back then, the AI had some difficulties with the placement of things. The spaceship is not really hovering over the city, it's just there on the image. The AI also has some trouble visualizing what that futuristic city looks like. Overall, there's not a lot of detail there. The images have this rough looking quality, but as sketches, they're great. Now, let's see how the current AI deals with the exact same prompt. The difference in visual quality is quite stunning. The AI managed to produce images with good clarity, great mood, and a pleasing color palette. But most importantly, Midjourney clearly understands what we're going for. A huge UFO hovering over a city. The spaceships in all the new iterations are not only better looking compared to the old versions, but they're also more clearly defined. We get some good design variants, enough for us to move to the next step of the process. Even with this first set of images, it's obvious how much Midjourney has improved. But things get even better. Let's check out the second prompt. This is the original set of images. Midjourney is notoriously bad with hands. For some reason, it just cannot draw them correctly. Whenever they're visible, they look like a mangled mess, but it's not just that. Midjourney has a lot of trouble rendering the other element of the prompt, the old watch. It also has a hard time understanding the prompt. So in the first image, we're not seeing a hand holding a watch, but hand holding. Now let's see what this new iteration can do. That is night and day. The composition, lighting, and mood are absolutely wonderful. Midjourney finally understands what an old watch looks like, and there's also no misinterpretation of the prompt. The hand is holding the old watch, and the chain is always visible. The hands are still problematic, but they're definitely a whole lot better than anything the older algorithm could do. But it's funny to see how easily the AI can mess up. A human would never draw a hand with more than 5 fingers, but Midjourney just keeps adding fingers like there's no tomorrow. But despite that, we're definitely getting closer to the AI nailing the look of the real thing. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. This was another problematic area for Midjourney. Faces were just super difficult to do, and as you can see, the results were quite scary. The Midjourney team though quickly improved on that, and in a matter of weeks we had some huge improvements in that area. But with the latest version, we're at a whole other level. The eyes, an area that was usually quite problematic, are now rendered without any issues. And basically, every feature of the face is now rendered correctly. But I think the area that deserves more praise is how the AI interprets the prompt. In the earlier iteration, Midjourney tried to fuse the dragon and the human into one single element. But with version 4, Midjourney is a lot smarter. Some images have dragon-like elements, as we can see in the armor of the main character, and other times we have a nicely detailed dragon on display. It's really amazing to see how well Midjourney manages to identify the nuances of the vague prompt. This is another area where we've seen some huge strides forward. Midjourney had the tendency to spit out images that looked a bit too depressing. Even the happiest sounding prompts would be transformed into moody and bleak looking imagery. Just take a look at these images. When I was writing the prompt, I was definitely not expecting this look. But thankfully, this is now a thing of the past. These are the sort of images we can get with version 4. That's exactly what I was expecting to see. A friendlier and happier color palette, more playful elements, and a great looking image overall. Some of the houses have candy elements, some have strong colors like pink and blue, and all of them have great looking designs. Something that was lacking in the previous set of images. If we compare the new ones to the older ones, it's obvious how much Midjourney has improved. There's no comparison really. I think it's safe to say that Midjourney's rendering capabilities have improved tremendously. The AI can now portray objects and environments in a much more convincing way. Let's take as an example this prompt. Five months ago, Midjourney had a huge problem visualizing this setting. All of the objects were extremely messy, and the actual images didn't make much sense. Fast forward to current day, and the images now are really good. The scene looks like it's in a diner, the elements in the prompt look like they're supposed to, and the lighting in most of the images is spot on. The rendering is not photorealistic like I would have expected from a prompt that was based on a photographer, but still, I think we're close enough. It's a good starting point, and that's all we need from an image coming out of an AI. A quick inspiration for us to start building our own image. Let's now have a closer look at another prompt showcasing Midjourney's new rendering capabilities. This is the original set of images. From a first glance, it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with them. We have some beautiful looking colors and some nice compositions. But notice that the images rely on the colors to convey the magical part requested in the prompt. There's nothing magical about the silhouettes of the buildings. Now let's see what the new algorithm came up with. Everything in this set of images is much more defined, and like we've seen with the previous prompts, Midjourney is now better at understanding the text. The magical nature of the city is portrayed in lots of different ways. We have different looking architecture, we have floating lights, we even have multiple planets in the sky. It's things that an actual illustrator would try to implement in the illustration in order to sell the concept. It's great to see the AI doing so well in that regard, not to mention how beautiful all these images look. Of course, one could say that the previous more abstract images were better, but keep in mind that if you're brainstorming for an actual concept, nice looking colors are not enough. They're helpful, but we need more than that. But out of curiosity, I tried to see if I could get something more abstract. And we can definitely get there if we want to. As I was working with the new version, there's one thing that might disappoint some users, and that's the ability to imitate a specific look/artist. Let me show you what I mean. Here's one of my favorite artists, Simon Stellenhack. His work is absolutely wonderful, and if you have the chance, I would encourage you to go through his work. It's really cool. This is how the old version of the algorithm interpreted Stellenhack's work. There are some similarities, mainly in the color palette, but there are also several issues. The robot, for example, is made out of houses, even though there's nothing like that in the prompt. Let's now check how the new version decided to render the images. Here, there's no confusion with the prompt. The robot is portrayed like an actual robot. But the main problem is that the images look nothing like Stellenhack's work. The color palette is way too bright, and all elements in the images look cartoony rather than realistic. I do like how some of these images look, but they definitely don't fulfill the main criteria of the prompt. I tried this with several other artists, and the results were similar. Here, for example, is how the old algorithm tried to imitate Eggleston. Rendering and composition issues aside, I do get the sense that the AI is trying to follow Eggleston's style. It's not doing a great job with the image, but I can see what it's trying to do. Now, here's how the new algorithm looks. I love the overall composition, colors, and the fact that all objects are rendered correctly. But these images look nothing like Eggleston's work, not even remotely. For me, this is not a big deal. What matters is that we have a general idea visualized, but if this plays a bigger part in your workflow, it's good to know. Either way, I really appreciate how good these images look. The AI is finally doing a great job following the prompt and rendering objects correctly. And that's definitely higher on my priority list. Here's an example of how these two things, following the prompt and rendering images correctly, can make or break an image. The results of the earlier algorithm are absolutely atrocious. The AI can barely render a dinosaur, let alone imitate an art style. Just as a reminder, this is Jeff Koons' work. Now let's check the new algorithm. The dinosaur looks like a dinosaur, and we can also see the AI trying to render shinier surfaces, like some objects from Koons' work. Do they look like Koons? No, but I'm absolutely fine with that. At least they look really good. It's remarkable to see how much Midjourney has evolved. In less than 6 months, we went from primitive-looking drawings that can barely follow the user's prompts to beautiful renders that closely match the user's description. If Midjourney's development continues at this pace, I think we'll see some insane stuff in a year's time. So don't be surprised if you see me repeat this same experiment by the end of 2023. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.